All right, we're back. It's COMP397. That's web game programming, and it's week 7, lesson 7, part 1. And we just started talking about assignment number 3, and with some mixed results from my die roller exam, which is, I'm surprised that more of you didn't get better on it, but then it shows that you haven't really worked on slot machine. So on slot machine, Sonia, the spokeswoman for the group, she came up to me and she said, "Listen, Tom, I need a little bit." She didn't exactly say this, but she says, "Listen, Tom, I need to, more time for slot machine, right? Because, I got so many things going on, and I got exams, I got a new house to buy, a new car to drive, I got to fly to Florida, I got stuff to do, right? So I can't do these things, your slot machine, on time by Friday. Is there any way that you can extend me until next month, right?" And I said, "Well, right, I can't extend you until next month." I'm lying, by the way. She didn't say any of this stuff. She just asked me for an extension. But, I have to make up a story. This is, if I can talk, I might as well make it, so it's my story. Anyway, she did ask me until Saturday, and I said, "You know what, Saturday, let's make it Monday." So what I'll do is I'll give you guys all until Monday to get your assignment number 2 done. I'll extend you until Monday at midnight. Now, Monday, today we said at Tuesday, right? Yesterday being Monday, that's the 15th, right? Plus 7, that's the 22nd. So I will extend everything to the 22nd of June. And what I'll do is I'll make a point of changing the dates on that on eCentennial, so that way you guys have a little bit more time. And I'll just do that now before I forget. These people with the service requests are crazy, eh? Okay, let's go back in here and check it out. 397. So let's go until, this one here, slot machine. I'm going to edit this so that way your due dates is going to be extended until one day when it comes up. Monday, 22nd, 11:59. And I'll also, just because of, whatever, I'll go to content. Actually, I'll go back out to, we'll set a new news item. And we'll say assignment 2 extended till due date. So due date extended or changed to Monday, June 22nd at midnight. Plus, as discussed, due date for assignment 2 has been changed to Monday, June 22nd at midnight. Thanks. Okay. All right. You guys have it now. So that's the first announcement we have to make. Okay, so it gives me a little bit more time to do slot machine. Number 1. 2. I was kind of talking about assignment number 3, and most of you are here now, so you probably heard me talking in your ear, but I want to go over it one more time. So assignment number 3, if I was to look at it, again, it's due a couple weeks out, and I'm going to kind of make this smaller. Oops, or bigger, I mean. So it's due a couple weeks out in July 10th. That's when it's due. Now, there's a bit of a break. It says class 9. It's actually week 9. And Friday, July 10th may look like far away, but actually there's a break. There's reading week after next week. So next week is week 8. And then officially the 9th week, which is really reading week, you guys are away for a week, right? So then that doesn't make sense for me to make it due then. So it's got to be officially week 9 in the program, which is the week after reading week, at Friday at midnight. Now that's plenty of time. That gives you almost 3 weeks if you were going to use reading week to do some of your work. to get this all done and completed and handed in, right? Again, this is an individual assignment, right? Guys, hello. No helping anybody, yeah? If you're helping, that's not good. I don't want any more help. You can work individually, please. Thank you. And also, because I'm working, please don't, it's not easy for me to talk over you. Okay, so that's the first thing. So this is due that week. Like I said before, I'm giving you your Mail Pilot project template, right? So your Mail Pilot project template is on GitHub. And again, the one I've given you is a skeleton. It's got the old version of TypeScript. You need to upgrade that. And we're going to build it up again together in class to show you how it all works. Okay. The other thing is that, again, it requires different things. You need a start screen, like I said, this gameplay screen, game end screen. This mechanic to have these three things going on, a start screen, gameplay, and game end, again, it's called a finite state machine. The ability for us to switch between screens, right? So if I was going to draw it out, and again, this is part of what I need to show you. Let me just pull up my little tabletta, just to be saying yes. Okay, hand it in. Great. GitHub. I'd like you to put it on GitHub if you can. It's just a better backup for me to look at your stuff. Okay. If you don't put it on GitHub, and if it doesn't work when you upload it, it's to your peril. All right. All right, so let's take a look. I'm just going to use a tool for me to describe this for you guys, just like I'm writing on Blackboard. So when I record this, you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to use Sketchbook Pro. I don't expect you guys to do the same thing. So what I'm talking about is you've got your first screen. So your first screen starts off basically like this. This is your start screen, right? So there's your start screen. And then what happens is something's going to happen. You've got your start button that kind of hangs out about here, right? And you might have some words and text that kind of show up here. Then you're going to have the flow. It's going to go to the next screen, right? And the next screen is going to be your gameplay screen. If you notice mine, I've set up my game so it's kind of like mobile compatible in this kind of context, right? As an example, my gameplay screen, I might have my avatar here. And if I was playing with Mail Pilot, I've got my clouds, right? I've got my clouds that kind of are going to kind of go down this way, right? That's where my clouds are coming down. And I also have a little island, right? Here's my island, and make it a little bit thicker. So we see what it is, right? My island. And my island kind of comes down that way as well. So I can get, with my plane, if I hit my clouds, I die. If I hit my island, I get a bonus. So this is kind of points, right? I get for that. And I get these are clouds, these are enemies, right? And then this is my avatar, right? So right now what's happening is, this is what's happening. It moves from my, this is my game start screen. So this is a start screen. If I can actually draw it here without looking. And then this is my game play screen, right? So this is my play screen, right? This is my play screen. So down here is going to be my game over screen, right? Another screen down here somewhere. And this is game over, right? Now I call them three different screens, but you're still sharing the same canvas, right? So what I got to do, and this is what I have to talk about, is I've got to create a container for each of the screens, right? So this here, right? Even though it's a screen, it's actually, I'm going to create something called a new game container. And a container is an object that comes from the Create.js library. Okay, cool. So I go from here. I want you guys to tell me, right? Maybe Sonia, you can help. So I've got my screen, right? And I want to go to my, after I'm done with my game, right? So I have my system. I get my seat. Basically, it's this. This is the start screen, right? You have to check it right. You'll see it online. When it goes to, again, the game place screen, you can see it, right? And then finally, the game actually starts right off. So tell me, when you're down here, right? Here's where the game perspective. There's got to be a button. There's a button From your start screen, your play screen, your game over screen. If you press the instruction screen, it goes here. It's funny how bad it is because on my screen it looks great. Okay. The modern projectors, the way they are. All right. It's still bad. So at least you guys can see it up online when you see the video, if you watch the video. So there's a problem, right? I've got this top-down approach, but what you need to do, and we'll see if I can draw this a little bit stronger so you guys can see it, is you need to make it so that your button goes, your game goes either right to left or left to right. So here's your avatar now for you, right? And you're going to be moving in this direction, right? I recommend you limit yourself so that you can only go up and down or up and down. You shouldn't be able to really move too much this way, else it's going to be too easy, right? And then you've got some kind of obstacle, maybe an alien ship, right? Here's your alien ship, right? And there's maybe another one over here that can come at you. Or maybe you're making some other kind of game, right, where you have your avatar is actually a player that walks. So you have some kind of, you know, a humanoid avatar, right? So a humanoid avatar walks. And then over here, you've got some kind of object over here, like some kind of enemy, right? Like maybe some kind of bird or whatever. Some kind of object that comes at you, right, with a beak, you know, whatever. Right? Here's your bird, is the enemy, right, with a big eye that comes at you and is going to eat you, right? There we go. Not really great. Well, maybe it's going to be a dragon of some kind, right? And the dragon is going to be, you know, going to have claws. Whatever, right? This is really poor. But the idea here is that you're going to make something to avoid. This is something you're going to run away from. Ah, you're running away, right? But the action's happening this way, right to left or left to right. My previous game, the way I'm showing you how to do things, right? Just to give you guys the example, is, and again, this is the screen. The previous game is running in this direction, right? Male pilot runs up and down, right? You guys have to do it so it goes left and right, this way. I've gotten, in previous years, I've gotten stuff that still goes up and down. That's not a pass, right? I'm asking you to do a side scroller, not a top scroller. So that's the first thing. That's why I'm drawing this out in this poor way. That's enough drawing. I'm drawing this not because I'm a great artist, but because I want it to be captured on the video, so you guys can see it. If you guys go to the video, oh, okay, I get what you're saying, I understand. And because if I draw it on the board, I'm better at drawing, but you unfortunately will not be able to capture that on the video. And that's why I'm doing it. Okay, so you've got your directions, right? We need to be able to do this these different states that we're talking about: the start screen state, the game place state, the game end state. There's going to be an instruction state, and then player control of an avatar, computer controlled enemies, AIs, as an example. That kind of, and again, we're just making random objects that come down the screen that you have to avoid. Random placement of items to collect, like islands and so on, and then a scoring system, some kind of scoring system, like we said. So how do we start this thing off, right? I think this is the thing that we were talking about. And again, if I was going to preview what it looks like, the basic Mail Pilot version 11, which is where I'm telling you to start. Here's version 11. And if you look at this thing, I'll start off in a second. Again, it's using the old version of TypeScript. So if I was to run this thing, if you were to launch it in your machine, that's not it. It looks like this, right? Got a bit of background noise. Play the game, right? And then some collisions happen between two objects and so on, and it finishes. And there seems to be this scrolling ocean background that goes down like this forever, right? But it's a trick. All it does is repeat. It goes down, and as this ocean moves down to a certain point, it just resets back to the top. You can't tell because it's happening so fast. But that's the trick. Okay, so these are the things I want to replicate somewhat today in our little demo. We're going to start off with nothing. There's also a couple of things I should talk to you about. I know there's some stuff on GitHub, and you're like, hey, wait, there's a whole example here on GitHub of my final version. Yeah, there is, right? I've given you this so that way you have more ideas about what to do. So if I type in Mail Pilot again in my repository, so look at final, right? This is my final version 16, right? That I've given you on GitHub, which gives you a couple things extra. It gives you some assets, right, that I was using. It also gives you some other kinds of scripts. Like, for example, here's some objects that I've included, buttons and coins and enemies and all kinds of explosions and stuff like that that I've kind of put together. Now, again, you're going to make your own assets. You're going to get your own assets from the internet. You're not going to use my assets, right? So you can use my project files. You can try and understand what I'm doing on GitHub, but you can't use my assets. You can't use my pictures from my plane or my clouds or anything like that, right? I need you to download and use your own, right? Now you've got a few weeks to get this done. It's an individual project, and each one of them has to be unique. Please don't copy from somewhere else. Don't find an old project from someone else. I will catch you. I will, I'm good at that stuff. And every time I warn the students every single year, and the reason for that is because there's a high chance somebody's going to get lazy and go on the internet and try and trick me. And I laugh because I always catch everybody. And they want to use code from the internet and make it their own. This template is the one I want you to use. I don't want you to use a template that you find for yourself on the internet. Okay? If you want to use external code, you need to run that by me. Right? So say, Tom, I got this external code. I want to use this little function. I don't want to write it again. Is it okay? If I say yes, you're good. Please don't try and do things without going through me first. Okay, that's number one. Second thing, let's start off this new project. So I would ask you, for those people who are done their exam, to join me here on Visual Studio, and I want to start off with this basic project, right? Now, I've got this other project online on GitHub for a second. I've got this one called COMP397 Mail Pilot. I'm just going to delete it right now because I want to build it with you, right? So here's COMP397. For those people who don't remember how to do this, how to delete projects, you can go to Settings, as an example, and you can scroll down to this danger zone and click delete this repository. And then you have to put in the name of the repository, COMP397 Mail Pilot, and then copy and paste in here at least, or write it in. And then if you've typed everything correctly, it'll give you a chance to delete it. Okay, it's gone. So now we're going to start one off on our own. The first thing is I want to create a new repository. So I'm going to create new repository. You can join me on this if you'd like to, or you can fork me later. It's up to you. So I'm going to go COMP397, and then we're going to call it Mail Pilot, right? This is not your starting place. This is one we're going to create together as a demo, right? So we can make it so you guys can understand what I'm doing, right? That's why we're doing this one. So let's create repository. Okay, so we've got a repository link, and now in Visual Studio, I need to create a new project. Okay, so question, Ali, are you still done? Are you done your project, your exam yet? All right. So here's my new project. If I go to new project, guys, please, I need you to keep talking to a minimum. I can't talk above you. It's going to come up on the video. All right. So I'm going to kick off a new project. Should I start a brand new project? What do you recommend? Or should I start with my boilerplate that you just used right now? Boilerplate is the right answer, right? Yes, Ali, you're good. If I scroll down, right, I have a boilerplate for this class, right? The Create.js boilerplate for 397, right? This is the one I made. And if I start this off, I'm not going to keep it as that. I'm going to change this to MailPilot, right? Now, hopefully I don't have another MailPilot called 397. Let me just check that in my files because it'll clash. That'll be bad. We don't want that. I do. We're going to kill that thing right now because we don't need it. All right, and I'm going to press OK. When I do that, all that Visual Studio is going to do is going to use my template to create my project again from scratch. If I go to Solution Explorer, I've got that silly button, right, that we've been using, that pink button that Sonia gave us because she likes pink, right? That's actually everything, you know, Sonia, you've influenced the whole class. They've got your pink button to make the role, right? Think of it that way. So that's how much of an influencer you are. That's good. Anyways, let's take a look at this without going into too much joking around. I've got my scripts. I've got my lib, my library, right, as an example. And I've got my assets. I've got a couple things. I've got an audio that's a clicked wave. And again, I've got this pink button. Well, we're not going to use this one. I do have some assets that I have that I'm going to use. And I have them here in on my GitHub files that I've got under MailPilot version 11. Now, you can always grab these assets. But I'm going to build this up from this step. You can always grab them from GitHub under your MailPilot version 11 that's up on GitHub. I'm just going to grab them so that I can start building them from somewhere as opposed from nowhere. So here's my image assets. Here they are, right? So I'm going to kind of hook into all these. And the reason why I'm pulling these in is because I don't need all of these, by the way. I definitely need my cloud. So here's my images for my cloud, right? And I definitely need my island because that's part of it. I don't need my button anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. Just get rid of that pink button as I'm building up my project to make MailPilot again, right? And I definitely need my plane, this one, right? So those are the three things: my cloud, my island, my plane. I need those, and I also need my ocean, right? My ocean. This is important for me to have. So otherwise I can't do what I need to do. So those are kind of the assets I need. I don't need this clicked wave under my audio assets, so I'm going to get rid of this one as I'm formatting my files here. If I go back to assets audio or sounds, I do have my engine sound, that one, my thunder sound, that one, and then my yay, those three sounds, right? So I want to grab those, and if you notice, they're OGG type files, which are OGG Vorbis. So Create.js kind of supports MP3, OGG Vorbis, WAV files, and so on. There's all kinds of other options. I'm going to grab these three files and drag them into my audio folder. Right, so I've got them in there. Okay, so I've got my assets now. Pretty much, I can build up my file slowly, right? Okay. Because I'm starting off a new project, I'm going to go to Team Explorer, and I'm going to go to Changes. And if you notice, there's all these changes I've made, right? I'm going to say created base Visual Studio Create.js project, and click commit. It's going to ask me to save. I'm going to go to home, and I'm going to go to unsync commits, and I'm going to put in my URI from GitHub. This is how we do it, right? And then from here, press paste and press publish. When I do that, here's my Solution Explorer, right? You guys should have my assets. If you actually were to grab stuff from GitHub, you'll see that there's, in my MailPilot folder, there's now assets that you can drag and drop or download into your files for this example. Okay, so we've got our audio and our images. Now I know that my files I've got my game is 640 by 480. So that's the first thing I got to change. I got to go into my index.html, and if you notice here, in my index.html, I have 320 by 480. I need to change the size of my canvas to 640 by 480. That's the first thing I need to do. Also, I'm going to change my title so that it says COMP397 Male Pilot. There it is. And it says May 12th. It's not May 12th today. It's June 16th. That's when I created this thing. So I'm going to say June 16th because I want to try and keep my my stuff going. My app is not a boilerplate anymore. It is Male Pilot. Male Pilot. This is what I kind of do. I have a little boilerplate that I use, right, for this thing. And then, of course, what this is Male Pilot Demo. Male Pilot Demo for assignment 3. Right, there it is. I'm going to kind of save that. There it is. Okay, I've got my stats, I've got my easel tween, all these different libraries. This is good. I do need to make a change though into when I go to my scripts. In my game.js file or my game.ts file, if I go there, I know that I'm not going to have my pink button anymore. That's going to be gone. I don't need that anymore. I don't have my clicked wave file either, so I probably can get rid of this as well in my manifest, right? And in the beginning, what I really want is my plane. Now, going with what we said last time, I know that in my folder for COMP397 and whatever, I have these images that I'm probably going to combine all my images into some kind of sprite sheet because I want to go start with sprites from the beginning. Doesn't make any sense that I wouldn't do that, right? So I want to keep that in mind. I won't do that right now. I'll modify that as we go to show you the transition again between using bitmaps to going to sprites because I know some people missed that last time. They didn't quite get it or understand it. It's very easy to do. It's much better than doing it this way, but we have to build that up, right? Because some people send me mail saying, I didn't quite understand what you did with the sprite sheets and texture packer, which is fine. We'll do it again, right, from the scratch. Okay, cool. So here's my pink button. I don't need a pink button anymore. What I do need is my plane, right? So I'm going to call this thing plane, right? That's the first thing I'm going to do. And I got my plane.ping image that I'm going to get. So I'm going to call this plane.ping, right? I don't need my hello label. I get rid of this stuff here. However, I do need a plane object, right? I need to define what that is and what my plane is. So I need some kind of plane object. I'm kind of using a little bit of comments almost to kind of put in some requirements. Need a plane object, right? Almost like my plan. My preloader function doesn't change. I don't need to change that. I'm not going to change my init function. That's fine. And my setup stats, that's okay, right? All this stuff remains as is. My game loop, same thing with stage and everything else. However, I don't need a button, so all this stuff is gone, right? Those mouse events. And you know what? Pretty much all of this is out of my file. So this is a kind of, I'm just cleaning up my boilerplate. I'm saving, right? I'm going to Team Explorer, and I'm going to Home, and I'm going to say Changes. I'm going to say cleaned up boilerplate. Commit, right? I'm going to go Home, and I'm going to go Unsync Commits and Sync. And when I do that, everything that I've changed or I've deleted gets removed from my next version. Okay, cool. I do need a plane object, and you know what? It makes sense that I create a plane class because it's going to be an object that I want to use, right? And it's better that I instantiate my plane object as opposed to make it here in the code, right? So who remembers how to make a class or a module, right? We kind of covered that over the last couple of weeks. How do we do that? How do I create a new object library? What's the first step that I do? Folder. Very good. I create a folder. So I'm going to go right click, add. I'm going to go new folder, and I'm going to call this thing objects, right? This is from scratch again. I'll right click in my objects, right? I'm going to add what? TypeScript file, right? Here's my TypeScript file. I'm going to rename this thing plain. I could also call this hero if I want. Let's make it plain. Press OK. In my TypeScript file, I know I'm going to make a new module, So how do I do that? What's the keyword that I need to use to make a new module? Module, right? And the name of the module is objects, right? That's the way I format it. You can certainly make it your own. This is my container for my module, my objects module. And inside there I need to make a new class. What's the keyword that I need to use so that way my entire object or my entire library has access to it? Export. If I don't have export, then it won't export my class. Export and my class name, which is called plane with a capital P. All right, I know that my class plane is going to extend, right? Extends. For now, let's make it a bitmap. So it's got to be createjs.bitmap. If it's a bitmap, it's like this. And there's my class, right? So we're going to say, here's my plane class. Plane class. Okay, cool, cool. And now I need my constructor. So I'm going to type in constructor. And when I have my constructor, because I'm extending, it's going to give me an error because I have to access the superclass, the constructor of the superclass. And remember what I need. I need to send in what the value is to the superclass. Now, because it's a bitmap, it needs to be of type a path, some kind of path name, or a string value, whatever, right? So here in my constructor then, I want to listen for some kind of path string or image name. So I'm going to call this image string, and it's going to be of type string. Very similar to what we did last time. So I'm listening for this. Guys, please no talking. Guys, please no. Thank you. I'm going to go superclass. You can talk after class, right? Superclass. And then in my superclass, it's waiting for my image string. I'm going to pass that in because this is what I need. So I'm going to go image string. All right? Here we go. So now I've satisfied the requirements of my superclass because my superclass requires some kind of string, an HTML element, some kind of pathway because it's now of type bitmap. So really my plane is a bitmap. Now because I'm documenting here, my recommendation is you use proper documentation techniques. I'm just going to make it so that way I separate my plane. Here's my constructor. I'm going to make it constructor. Right? Just all I'm doing is adding some comments just so that way I can isolate what they are. Okay, cool. I've got my plane. I know I'm going to need an update function, so I'm going to kind of put that in there. So we're going to say public methods. And I need a, oops, might as well add those little pluses. Here's my public methods. And my first public method is going to be called the update method. I'm going to actually put it as public update, right? And my update method is going to be returning void, right? Because it's not going to be returning anything. This goes back to your C# days. You should remember how to do this, right? It's almost exactly like C# would be. You need to kind of demonstrate what it returns. Just a slightly different syntax. Okay, cool. So returns void. And what does this public update function do? Well, we're going to get to that. Okay, now I've got to instantiate my object. So here's my plane. I get my image string, right? I need to create a new object, a new bitmap, right? Now, who remembers what the keywords are? Doesn't this do it right here, my superclass? Because I'm extending create.js bitmap. When I pass this into the superclass, in fact, I am creating an object. I'm using the new keyword, right? It's implied. So I don't have to do that here. I do have to determine my x and y coordinates, somehow, some ways of interacting with my plane object. And I know that I want to set up my width and height. So here's my width and height properties. So I'm going to say, here are my public properties. Now, they're not really properties, they're instance variables. So that's fine. But these public properties are going to be available. They're going to be exposed to the outside world of my class. So I do need something called the width, which is going to be of type number, right? And my width is going to be a certain value, right? I don't know what that is right now. My height, I do need that. That's also going to be a certain number, right? I need width and height. I also need an x and y value that I'm going to get. I don't have a dx and dy value yet, but I will. So there's my width and height. Okay, good. So now I know that my width, I'm going to get I'm using my getBounds function to do that. So I'm going to say this dot width, right, then is equal to my getBounds function, this dot getBounds, right, dot width. So that's what the first thing I'm doing. I'm saying here's my width. And if, by the way, if you look at this my width function. This is a property. Here's my property. It's not a method, right? So it just takes this. Width is equal to how big is it? So that's what this is. This is my width. It's measuring the width of my object. Okay. I know it's 65, by the way. This dot height then also is equal to this dot getBounds dot height, right? Because basically it's measuring the height of my object. So I know my width and height. Okay, now what I want to do is set my registration values so they're in the middle of my object. If I don't do that, it'll be off, right? So I'm going to set that up. So I'm going to say this dot regx, right, is equal to this dot width, right, times 0.5, and it's going to set my focal point, or the center of my object, to this, to the in the middle there. This dot reg_y, right, is equal to this dot height, right, times 0.5. These are all the things I'm going to do. I don't want to make this over and over again when I make my plane. I know that that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, cool. Now I want to set my x and y values, right? So my first thing I know that I want to set it at the bottom of my screen. That's where I want it to go, right? So my plane is going to right at the bottom, and I'm figuring it's going to be around 430 pixels. So I'm going to say this dot x, by the way, says I've already recalculated this, so just to save you guys time for trial and error. This dot x, right? X is going to change. It's going to always change with my mouse, but this dot y, the up and down value, is going to be 430, right? So it's always going to be 430, which means my plane is going to be locked into this one place, right? Okay, but what do I need to do when I update? On update, I want to check my mouse value, right? So I want to get my mouse, where my mouse position is, right? And I want it, whatever my x position of my mouse is, I want to assign it to this dot x. Let's try this out. So I'm going to say this dot x is equal to, if I start typing mouse, right, it doesn't really give me anything. If I go stage dot mouse x, which is what I really want, stage dot mouse x, right, it's just a value, right? So wherever my x coordinate is going to be on update, that means every frame it's going to check to see where my mouse is, and it's going to position my plane where my mouse is, right? Position plane over mouse, or under mouse. I'm going to get rid of this so you guys can see that. That's what this is. Okay, so cool. So I've got my little my little class. I'm going to save it, right? And when I save it, of course, it transcompiles over to JavaScript. This is the JavaScript piece right here. It looks very similar. I haven't done a lot of different things here. I do have a couple of parameters, width and height. Now, what's the next step? You talked about I made my class. What do I have to do? Is it part of my project yet? No. What do I need to do? I need to add it into here, right? So here's my game scripts. That's fine. Maybe I'm going to make something called game objects. Another area, another section here, game objects, right? And I'm going to drag and drop my new plane class into this game objects area here. There it is. And now that I also do this in my game.ts file here, I need to drag and drop that in there as well. So I need to kind of make a kind of a reference to my plane. There's my plane, right? Now that I have this, I can add it to the stage, right? So here's where I come back to this variable here, and now I can add my plane object. I need a plane object here that's part of my class, right? So I'm going to say plane. Oops. How about I actually do it properly? Var plane is equal to is of type objects plane, right? Because I have that as my object. So that's the first thing I'm defining. Actually, it's wrong. I'm defining my plane as of type plane, right? But I haven't instantiated it yet. I haven't made my plane yet. I'm just making a global variable right now. I also need, so I've got my plane object right here. I need to use this later on as well. Okay. Everything else stays the same. I go down here, and now inside my main function, I'm going to instantiate my plane object. How do I do that? I go plane is equal to new objects dot plane, and I need to pass in there an image string, right, which is going to be assets dot get result plane, That's the image string that I'm passing in, right? So I'm passing that in. That comes from this. Remember, we went to our manifest, and you guys should have done this with your die roller, right? I get my plane, I load it up, and then I send it to here, and now it goes into it creates a new plane object. So my plane object's being created, and now I want to add it to the screen, to the stage. I'm going to say stage.addChild plane. There you go. So that's all I need, really. And this is my add plane object to stage, right? That's cool. But I wanted to do something. Remember, it's checking every update. It's checking every frame. I have my update function, but I want to use my plane update function every frame in order for me to check my movement. If I don't, I get this. First of all, let's see what I got so far. So I haven't tested any of this out, right? So I've added a bunch of changes, and hey, there's my plane. Look, it's over here. But how come it's not moving across here? Oh, and I got to move this around too, because this is wrong, right? Because my stage is a little wider than it was before. My plane is sitting there, but it's way over here, right? And it's not moving around. How come? Well, I need to use my plane object here, my update object in my game loop. So I'm going to go, before my stage update, I'm going to put another reference to my plane dot_update, right? Because I made my update function, which actually checks to see where my mouse position is, to move my plane around. That's the first thing I got to do. Okay, cool. So that's the first thing. So I'm listening for my plane object to change position. That's what's happening there. That's cool. I want to change my my setup stats. Now, right now it's at 330, right? I probably want to make this at 650, right? Just to give it so it's at the right side of my stage. Let's check this out now, and I'll rerun this thing to see what happens. So I'm going to rerun the file, and yeah, we get some movement happening. You should be able to get this too. So I've got my plane. Wherever I move my mouse, my plane tries to get there. Now it's a little bit of delay for me because I'm running in a virtual machine, right? But this is what you should get right now. Okay? Doesn't do anything right now. There's no sound. There's nothing scrolling here or anything. But I am running 60 frames per second, which is pretty darn good, right? Okay, cool. We don't have time for everything today, but let's add in my first object, which is going to be my island. I want to, when my island moves down, it's gonna kind of come down every time. Let's make my island class. So I'm gonna stop recording here and go back here. And if you notice, I mean, my stats works. Here's my plane, right? I want to do kind of the same thing as I did with my plane for my island because it's still an object, but this object moves from the top of the screen down, right? Okay. There's a couple things you have to talk about here too. If I go back to my drawing program here, I'll use, in this particular case, I'll use Fireworks because that's one of my favorite programs for simple graphics, right? And again, you might use GIMP or something else. I'm going to make a new file that's 640 by 480, right? A new canvas. Here's my 640 by 480, and you know what? If I think about it, I'm going to have my object. I'm just going to make a square right now. Here's my square. Here's my object. So this is going to be my cloud. Well, my cloud is going to start off screen like this. It's going to flow down screen. It's going to get to the bottom of my screen. And when it leaves the screen, it's going to reset back up here again. But I don't want to just start in the same place all the time. I want to start here, 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 random places. This is where my random number generator is going to come into play. So it's going to start off, it's going to reset to the top of my screen to fool you into thinking that there's more than one cloud or island or whatever. It's going to have the same mechanic. It's going to start off screen, it's going to enter the screen, it's going to leave the screen, it's going to start off somewhere else. What's going to happen? And that's what the idea is here. Meanwhile, I'm going to make another object for my plane. Here's my plane. And by the way, we'll use real objects later on. My plane, all it's going to do is do this. Move right and left, right? To kind of avoid what's happening here. Where this thing moves down, I'm going to move away from it, and it's going to keep going, reset somewhere else, right? And then I'm going to move away from that, right? That's the mechanic of my game. In your case, your avatar is going to be positioned this way, and it's going to come this way, these objects, if it's moving from right to left, right? Whatever it's going to happen, right? And if it's moving, and then your plane is going to go up and down. Or whatever, won't be your plane, your avatar. Or it could be that your avatar is on some kind of stage like this, and you have these objects here that are coming this way, and then what you're going to do is when it comes close enough, you're going to jump over it, right? Some way of avoiding objects going right to left. That's your mechanic. Mine, though, for this one that I'm doing, which is male pilot, is I'm going to avoid these things that come down or try and get them if they're the island. Okay, cool. So if that's what I know what to do, I know how to make my new class. I'm going to kind of pin my Solution Explorer in here again. I'm going to right-click on Objects, and I'm going to add a new class. Right, here's my new TypeScript file. And I'm going to call this thing, we'll do island first. Here's my island. Now it's very similar to plane, so I'm not going to retype all that crap. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go back to my plane class. Here it is. And I'm going to kind of copy it all. And wait, if I'm copying it all, this is another option for me to think about. Maybe I've done something wrong, right? So let me just copy this. Control C, Control V, Control V. Getting option. Control V. But it's not a plane anymore, it's an island. So I'm going to change the name from plane to island. It's my island class, right? It is still a create.js bitmap. Everything else is exactly the same, except my stage X is not going to change with my mouse, right? It's going to be reset. I need a reset function. So I'm missing something here. So another method that I'm going to have before my update method is going to be a public reset method that I'm going to use. Public, or maybe I'll make it private, sorry. Because it doesn't have to be exposed in this particular case. Public, and let's just go here, and we'll make it private. Some private methods. Oops. Here's my private methods, and the one that I want, that I really care about for my island class, is something called reset. So reset, it's definitely private. I can use my private keyword, just so that for IntelliSense that it gives me that thing. It definitely doesn't return anything again. So I'm not expecting it to return anything. I'm going to reset. And what is it going to do? Well, when my plane, my X value gets down to a certain level, my Y value I mean, when my Y value falls below the stage, right, I'm going to reset it. Okay, I'm going to reset my position. Okay. And also, I don't know what else is going to be in here. I definitely don't want this. So this is not in my update function yet. Okay, so we just make some stubs here. And we'll just can I get rid of this for a second? So we have a few minutes left. All right, so width and height are good, but I also want something called a dx value or dy value. Sorry, so I'll make a new value called dy. It's a type of number, and I'm going to set this number to 5. What I mean by dy is delta y. If you've taken physics before, it's a change in y, and my y goes up and down. So it's going to change at 5 pixels every frame. So it's going to actually go down the stage 5 pixels every frame, right? And instead of my y value being fixed, that'll be what it is. So my y value then, right, will be equal on update. My y value is equal to my y value plus my dy value, right? So we're going to say that on update my y for now. This dot y is equal to this dot dy. Right? And of course we're going to say plus equal. We're going to add it to the y value. Right? So this is just, what this does is it moves island down the stage. That's what it does. Moves the island down the stage. Every update. So if I do this without reset method, now I need a random value, right? So in my reset method, this is where I do my random x. So I say this dot x then, a random x value, right, is equal to what? Here we go, guys. Here's that famous random function you guys were using here in your rolling, right? Math.floor, like I said before, to make me, so that way I get a rounded down value, right? Math.random, right, which gives me 0 to 1. And I want to multiply that by, from 0 to the size of my stage, which is 640 pixels. So anywhere there, it's going to, my island will be reset, right? So times 640, approximately. I could add 1 if I wanted to make it accurate, but this is fine. Okay, so this is my x value. It's going to be a random x value. Every time I run this thing, it's going to go from 0, my x value is going to change. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to update I'm going to do my reset function once here. I'm going to say call this dot reset. Right, so when I run my constructor, I'm going to reset to a random location right away. Okay? That's the first thing. And the other thing I want to do with reset is I want to set my y value, right, to whatever the height of my object is, negative off the stage, right? So I'm going to say my this dot y then is equal to my height of my object, right? This dot height, right? But it has to be a negative value because it's going to be off the stage. Because if my height is 65 pixels, as an example, it'll start 65 pixels down. I don't want that. I want it to be off the stage by negative height. I'm going to say negative this dot height. Right? That's what's going to happen. So start island off stage. That's what this is. And then start island at random location. That's what this does. All right? Okay, cool. Then it's going to fall, right? And then it's going to reset. Now I need something else. I'm missing something else here. You're going to see what it is in a second. So I'm going to save this thing. And when I save it, I got to do the same things that I normally do. I'm going to go to my index.html. Guys, for those of you who are going to submit for this end of class, please submit now. It's 11:20. If you don't submit now, you won't get 14. You'll get 10. All right? You'll lose 4 marks. So now's the time. Whatever you've got, you submit now for whatever you're going to get. All right? Let's go to this. So if you notice, I've got to add my island as well as my plane. So I'm going to kind of drag and drop my island in there. So I need to add my island class. And I also have to make my island available in my game.ts file, which is up here, right? So let's do that. Let's add my island underneath my plane. And then I've got to instantiate my island. I'm just going to do this after here. And you tell me add island object to stage, right? And I'll say island. I haven't defined my island yet, so I'm going to go back up there. Sorry. Here's my island object right here. I'm going to say var island is equal to objects.islands, right? So I'm going to kind of make a reference to the island. And here I'm going to add it in, right? Now that it's in the global namespace, island is equal to new objects.island. And again, I'm going to say assets.getResult. I don't have this in there. I've got to change that too, right? I'm going to call this island. I have to add that in now that I'm reminded of it. I'm going to go stage.addChild island. Right? That's the first thing. So I got to do there. Back up here, I didn't add that in, so I'm going to add a comma in here. And I'm going to copy this, paste, get rid of the comma, and call this island. I'm using the bitmap method right now. I'm going to change this later on to sprites. I'm going to change this to island. So I'm going to use my island object here. I'm loading it into my manifest, and then later on, I'm calling it here. Right? That's what I'm doing. So I've got both objects. I also want to wait for the island to fall down the screen, which means I got to add a island.update method here. Island.update, because it also has an update method. Oh. So I'm going to update my island every frame. Every frame I want to know where my island is going to be. It's going to redraw the island down the screen. Let's try this out really quickly. All right, there's my island. And she's gone. Man, what the hell? Let's try that again. Hold on. Hey, oh man, and my island flows above my plane. What the hell's up with that? Right? Oh man, my order's wrong. That's why. Remember, it's in order that I added to the stage. I've added my plane first. That means my island is going to come on top of my plane. If I want my plane to fly over my island, I got to instantiate my island first. I'm going to kind of take this and just change the order. All right, this is the easiest way to do this, by the way. Not the only way. And now I've got my island in it, but I have to check to see when my island leaves the stage. So I need to do something else. I need to create another private method called checkbounds, right? So here's my other private method. So here's my private checkbounds method. So I check the boundaries. That's what I'm doing here. And I'm returning void. And I'm going to call this, right, every frame. So every frame, every update, I'm going to check my bounds to see if I've left the screen. So I'm going to say this.checkbounds. That's the one thing I'm going to do. So every update, I'm going to check to see if I've left the screen. Now here's what I check. Here's what I say, this.y, right? This.y, the plane's or my island's y value is greater than, right? What's the size of my stage, which is 480 pixels, which is 480 plus the height of my plane, or the height of my object, this.height, because I want it to be off stage, right? If it's greater than those things, then what do I want to do? Reset. Right? So I check the bounds, and that's what this is doing. Check to see if my plane has left the screen. So check if island has left screen, right? And then reset it. That's what it's doing. So check to see if it's happening. So if this works well, I'm gonna check my bounds. I'm gonna call my check bounds method every frame, right? That's what this does, every frame. And then if it's true, if this is true, if my y value, the position of my island on my stage is greater than, I just put a hard value in there. We're gonna have to change that later. Instead of 480, we're gonna have to put in some kind of constant, because what if I want to adapt this thing to mobile tomorrow or change my my values? I don't want to change it here in my class. I want to change it in my constants, and then it'll kind of roll down, right? Let's check this out now and see if that did it. So I'm going to kind of save everything, run this thing, and now with my check bounds method that's run every frame, it should be able to reset by itself. So boom, boom, hey, and it kind of goes underneath now, and it kind of goes at a different location randomly, right? My plane kind of rolls down. Okay, almost there. No one's bugging us at the door, and people are still writing, right? Their stuff. What's that? Some people might. So I'll do one more thing. So let's do the same thing. I like this, and I like my island class so much, right, that I can probably do the exact same thing, almost, give or take, for my cloud class, right? So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go right-click. I'm gonna go add. I'm gonna add TypeScript file. I'm gonna call this cloud, my cloud object, right? And I don't need my plane object right now anymore, so I'm just gonna kind of minimize that. But in my island and my cloud are almost identical. So let me just go kind of Control A, Control C, right? And I'm gonna go into my cloud object and Control V for my cloud. Right, here's my cloud. But instead of island, it's gonna be called cloud, right? It's pretty simple. Here's my cloud. Everything seems to be the same. I still need a reset method. I still need to check bounds and all that kind of stuff, right? It's identical. Right? Math.thing, my height of my cloud, everything's identical to my object. I go dy, but you know what? I do want something else that's different from my cloud. My cloud has a dy value, but I also wanted to make it so it drifts right and left, to give it almost like a horizontal drift, which means I need another value here. I'm going to call this dx, and we're going to add another value. We're going to make this number random, so I'm going to kind of make it, instead of fixed. And the same thing goes with my speed. So instead of it being 5, which makes sense, I'm going to kind of make it go faster or slower. So I think I'm going to also change this value, which means that in my reset function, I'm going to change my speeds in here. Okay, this is okay. This x value, this is a random value, right, where it's going to start off. And this y value is negative y, right? This is good. I like that. But my dx and my dy value should also change randomly. So I'm going to kind of put that in there. So I'm going to say my dy value then, right, this dot dy, right, is equal to math.floor, math.random, a random number. So dy means the speed I'm going between 5 and 10. How do I do that? How do I make it so it's between 5 and 10? So minimum 5. So I'm going to go, it's really easy, right? So times 5 is 0 to 5, plus 5, right? Gives me a speed between 5 and 10 pixels per frame. That's what that does. That's my dy values. That's good. My dx value, this is kind of tricky. Dx is math.floor, math.random. Oops. But this time I want it to go from -2, so it slides to the left, to +2. How do I do that one? Oh, you guys, 0 to 4. So if I go 0 to 4 and then -2, it's going to slide back to the left, right? If it's 0, it goes to -2. If it goes to 4, it goes to 2, right? So that's how it's going to be. So multiply by 4, right? And we're going to -2 from it. So this is going to be a drift, this positive or negative drift for my cloud. That's the one thing it's going to do. I've got to apply this dx value though. So I'm going to say this dot y plus equals to this dot dy. That's good still. And this dot x plus equal to this dot dx. Oops. So to give that move or drifts the island, drifts cloud right and left. And this is cloud. And this is cloud. And this is cloud, because we're making a new cloud class. Oops, not crude, cloud. And the same thing with this one, cloud, right? So these are all things. Now my cloud class is done, right? Because now I'm doing everything the same, a little bit of changes, but I've got to do my due diligence here, right? So how do I do that? I go to my index.html, I go to my solution explorer, okay, I'm going to pin this on, and I'm going to get my cloud now, this object, and I'm going to add it in as another object in under my game object. So here, just drag and drop. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I meant my cloud class, drag and drop, right here. That's the first step. Step 2, I'm going to go to my game.ts file to the top and add this in as another cloud, as another object here. There's my plane, island, and cloud. Cool, cool. I want to make my cloud right here as an objects.cloud. Right, here we are. I'm also going to go down here in my update. I know that I need to do my cloud update, so cloud.update. Cool, cool. And down here, I'm going to add in my cloud, and definitely want my cloud to be above my plane, so it's after my plane. So here's my cloud, and let's just add this in. Instead of plane, we're going to say cloud, and of objects type cloud, right? And of course, this is going to say cloud, but we have no cloud. Make some changes here, right? And we have to add in. So we've got a cloud here, but we don't have a cloud here. So I'm just going to kind of copy this over here. I should add a comma and copy very carefully, like I didn't do last time. This part, and paste. And we're going to call this cloud. And it's cloud.ping. Right, and if I've done things correctly, then I've got my game almost get there. Let's run this thing really quickly, right from my sides, from my top down. There's my cloud. It kind of goes pretty quick, right? And it goes at random locations, and it drifts to the right and left, right? But wait a minute, there's only one of them. How come? How come there's only one of them? Well, I want more than one. Should I do cloud 1, cloud 2, cloud 3? Is that the right thing to do? No, guys. I need to create a cloud array, right? Which means now I'm going to make it an array of objects, custom objects that I just created. How do I do that? And you guys are notoriously bad at arrays, just in general. I know some people just don't understand them. And in JavaScript and in TypeScript, arrays are actually lists, right? And so we know that they're lists. Here, instead of me defining a cloud, an object called cloud, right? This is cool, but that's not really what I want. What I want, I'm going to kind of just do one of these for now, right? I'm going to spawn all kinds of errors. I'm going to say var clouds, right, is an array, right? And it's of type array, so it's a type array, right? So I'm going to say, if I go this, right? If I go this, and if I'm not wrong, if I go, or is it cloud array? Array of clouds. Sorry, syntax, my friends. So there's two ways of doing this. I can say a var clouds is equal to this, right? Which is an array of any. That's what this thing is. If I actually go over here, look what it says. Var clouds colon any, right? That's what it is. Or, that's not what I really want, right? I want it so that it's objects dot cloud array. That's what it is. I want a cloud array, right? So a random cloud array. Now it's giving me an expression, right? Because it says, well, hold on a second. It's my clouds is of type any, right? That's what this thing is, right? So if I do one of these, if I say, oh, sorry, I meant Tom. I meant to do this. So that's what this is. My clouds is actually an array, if you look what it says, an array of clouds. That's what this thing is. Now it's an empty array of clouds, right? So that's the first thing, right? Now the easiest way to think about this, if you want to make your life easier, is just to do this. without typecasting, right? That tells JavaScript that it's an array of any, a cloud array of any, right? Okay, cool. That's good, but I need to instantiate these things, and this is wrong too, right? Because that's not going to work for me. I'm going to just comment it out for now. And well, this is wrong too, because I can't instantiate objects like this anymore. So I'm kind of going to, do one of these. So I need to add multiple clouds, and I want to do them somewhere down here. So I want to add more than one cloud. So what do? Well, I need a for loop, of course, right? So I'm going to get for, right? And I'll say var cloud, right, is equal to 0. Actually, maybe that's not the best thing to do. Yeah, that's fine. My cloud is equal to 0. And where a cloud is less than 3, hard-coded value, beep, 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 beep. It's an alert, it's a hard-coded value. We shouldn't do that. Cloud plus plus. We'll go to the next cloud. That's what this is doing. Okay, cool. And in there, what I want to do is I want to say, well, cloud, right? So the first cloud, the 0th cloud in clouds, I want to make it to a new anonymous cloud. New objects dot cloud. That's what I want. And of course, the object, because it's of type cloud, is going to send in the cloud path, right? That's what this does. And not only do I want to add it, I want to add this cloud to the stage. So I'm going to say stage.addChild clouds cloud, right? So this adds multiple clouds to the stage. Actually adds 3 of them, right? Through the loop. And I'm creating this new, each of these elements is going to hold a new anonymous cloud object that's inside of here, but they're going to be named with my index, cloud 0, cloud 1, cloud 2. This is good. Well, that means that if I do this here, right, I'm just going to take a copy of this for a second. In my update function then, right, which is here, I want to, instead of instantiating the cloud, I want to do my cloud's update function, right, because I can do that. Because each cloud is an object that has an update method, right? So I can update my cloud every frame. I don't need that anymore. I don't need this anymore, right? Add 3 cloud objects to the stage. That's what this does. And if I've done everything correctly, now because this is the power of having a class, right? I should be able to run this thing and have 3 clouds go crisscross around the screen. Unless I've made an error, which I may have. Let's take a look. And there's issues with this, and I know which ones they are, because I've done this before many times, but let's take a look what it says. So I've got some options. It says the width, cannot read the width property of null, failed to load resource, the server responded with status of 404 not found, for my localhost cloud object. That's cool. Uncaught type error, cannot read property update of undefined. Well, of course, because I don't have a cloud object. And cannot read property update of undefined. So there's a couple of game options. Well, that's just giving me some repeats. And that's fine. I know what the problem is, right? It's back up here. So I've got my clouds, right? That's cool. It's an object array, right? And what I'm doing is I need to instantiate each of my cloud objects. And I'm doing that down here, but I'm actually updating them before I have them. See, I'm trying to create my updates for my clouds right here before I've actually created them. So I'm going through here going, hey, let's update this cloud. Let's do it. And I haven't really added them yet. So how can I avoid that? How can I get around that? Well, I need to typecast this thing because it doesn't understand what this thing is. I need to make this clouds array, instead of type any, right? I've got to make it of type cloud. That's the first thing I need to do. So I'm going to say clouds, right? And it's object. So I can type objects.cloud, right, is equal to a new cloud array. Now when I go here, right, it actually shows me that it's a cloud object. Okay, that's the first step. So I've got my cloud here. We know it worked before. That's one of the issues that I had going on. And that's the reason why I had problems. So now when I come here, I know it's a cloud type object that has an update method. Right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to tell. Right? There's a couple of other issues. I've called this the same variable name. We talked about hoisting at the beginning of class and how that might be a problem as well in my game loop. And here's my var, my variable that updates my cloud and adds it in. So I'm in here in my clouds. I'm actually instantiating the object here of type cloud, just like I was doing here, objects cloud. But I'm doing this wrong too, right? That's another issue. So I've got to do this, which I missed, right? In here. So instead of plane, I've got to do a cloud, and that's probably one of the issues I have as well. And that probably will fix it. Let's check and see if that's true. So there's another issue. So a couple of issues we caught. Hopefully things will work well now, and we've got our 3 clouds. So you got 3 clouds. They're running all over the place, right? Pretty quick actually too. And now I've got this, right? And my plane is kind of avoiding all of them. Are you guys almost done your test, by the way? I've given you more time. All right, so, and that's pretty much where I want to stay for today. Next week, we'll go into the next piece. I want to show you the next part of it, but at least you've got a good starter. I'm just going to update this on GitHub for you guys so you guys can see how this works. I'm going to go to home, unsync commits, or sorry, home, changes, added thing, cloud. And that'll be it for me.